Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So today we're going to be talking about dividing of fractions once more, and this time instead of just doing the reciprocal, which is flipping the numerator with the denominator, we're also going to be doing some actual work with the division problems. Now, to start off, some real key steps that I think we all need to make sure we have. So the first step that we have for step one is we need to make sure that we convert any whole numbers or mixed fractions into improper fractions. That is absolutely step one. We need to make sure we do that. Our step two is we need to find the reciprocal of the second fraction in the equation. So the second one. And step three, and this is the final step, we need to flip the sign from division to multiplication and then multiply. Now there technically is one more step, and I'm going to write it on the other side here. So there is one more step for step four, and that is if we need to simplify using the greatest common factor, or what we call GCF. Okay? So we're gonna take a look at these problems. I'm gonna do these two together with you, and then you have the opportunity to do the rest. And there's a couple of practice ones. So with this problem first, I'm looking here at step one. It says convert any whole numbers, okay, or mixed fractions into improper fractions. Okay, so I'm going to do that. Here's my number 2, and that is a whole number. And so I'm going to convert that. I know that 2 is the same thing as saying 1 over 1 plus 1 over 1. Now, when you add fractions, you're only adding numerators if they have like denominators. So that means that if I add the numerators, that's going to equal 2 over 1. So my new fraction that I have here is going to be 2 over 1. And my new equation is divided by 3/8. Okay, so there we go. That's my new problem. So now the next step. The next step says find the reciprocal of the second fraction in the equation. Well, if I'm looking for the second fraction here, the second fraction is most clearly this one. And so the reciprocal, if I take the reciprocal of 3/8, and I am going to switch it so the numerator becomes the denominator, and so the denominator becomes the numerator, the new problem is going to be, or the new fraction is going to be 8 over 3. This is the reciprocal. Okay? And so my new fraction altogether that I'm going to write over here, this new equation too, is 2 over 1 and 8/3. Now you'll notice that I left something blank. Well, I left the operation blank because in step 3 it says we need to flip the sign from division to multiplication and then multiply. So I need to make this now multiplication because I did the opposite. I flipped it, so it's the opposite operation. So now I'm going to do 2 times 8. 2 times 8 is 16. Now this is, and I do apologize, this is totally a 3. There we go. 1 times 3, I'm just doing the numerator times the numerator, and denominator times denominator. 1 times 3 is 3. Now, technically, this is our answer, 16 thirds. We would be done here. Unfortunately, this is not yet simplified. We can think about how many times 3 goes into 16. Now, 3 goes into 6, 18. 3 times 6 is 18. 3 times 5 is 15. So it doesn't quite go into 16 evenly. So really, all I have to do in this case is just put it back into a mixed number. Well, since I said that I knew 3 times 5 was 15, that gets me very close, right? I'm super close there. So if 3 times 5 is 15, and I'll use one last color here. Let's go to this screen. So I know that it at least is 5 wholes, right? My 5 wholes. And then there's something left over. Well, 16 minus 15, right? If I'm taking away 15 from here, that leaves it only with 1. So it's 1/3. Okay. And again, I could do this out as, a whole thing. So, and in fact, I think I'm going to do that just so I can show you how that looks. So we have thirds. Okay. Now we know that there's 5 thirds with change. So I'm going to make 5 boxes here just to show you how I'm getting this. Okay, and let's go here. And these are broken up into thirds. Not the most perfect thirds, but there we go. And I know this is thirds because the denominator of 16 thirds, the denominator is 3 parts total. Now I'm choosing this many boxes just because I need to know how many to fill in. And I know how to do that just because, let's choose this here. So if I fill this in, I know that this is 1 hole filled. So that's 3 parts. 4, 5, 6 parts. 7, 8, 9 parts. 10, 11, 12 parts. 13, 14, 15 parts, and then 16 total. And if we look at holes, at what the holes are here, we can see that this is 1, this is 2, this is 3 holes. Sorry, 3s are hard. 4, 5 holes. So we got 5 holes here. And we have change. We have 1 out of how many parts? Well, there's 1 out of 3 total parts. So it's 1/3. So that's my mixed fraction. So improper to mixed fraction. Okie dokie. So there we go. And I'm gonna clear this work, but you can pause the video if you need to be able to take a look. Actually, I'll just make sure I erase this side here, just so we can see. Oops. Now I'm going to go to the other one. So the other one, if you want to pause and see if you can solve this, and then you can look at my response, that's probably a really good way to do this. But I'm going to do this very quickly, just so you can see the event of this. So I'm starting off, and I have 7/1. That's step 1. And this is divided by half. So that's our step 1. My step 2 is I'm going to take the reciprocal of 1/2, and I'm going to flip it to 2 over 1, and I'm going to rewrite. Actually, let's keep it in yellow. I'm going to rewrite 7 over 1. Now it's multiplied because I'm doing step 3, multiplied by 2 over 1. So that's this step right here. So now I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom though. So the top and the bottom, multiplying the numerators, 7 times 2, that's 14. 1 times 1 is 1. And nicely, look at that. The step 4 that's here, to simplify, well, 14 over 1 is really just 14. I don't need any other math to do it. That's simply the answer. It's just 14 wholes. Okay. Now you could have figured this out too, because you could have just said, these are just divided by 1, so 7 times 2. Okie dokie, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that did help. I hope that gave you some practice in being able to do this. I will make sure to save this so I can submit it as well. But please do try and finish the remaining problems that you have for practice in the Nearpod.